Just because you haven't seen doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
But your argument of there being a deity or there being a...
I haven't brought in deity yet.
It's not about, I'm just saying...
No, I'm not saying I brought in a deity. I'm saying based on your view.
Your argument of bringing in a deity is because you can't explain something else.
No, it's not that.
My telling you that we believe things are eternal is because we can see that atoms are never destroyed.
You have never seen an atom eternally exist.
No, because I haven't been around for an eternal amount of time.
So why are you making a conclusion based on something that you haven't observed?
Based on an observation.
But you haven't observed, that's what I'm saying.
You've observed it to an extent. You can't observe it.
You're doing it again, brother. You're doing it again. You don't know, and you're speculating about something that no scientist or physicist has ever made this.
All cosmologists, they agreed on one point, that the universe has a start. They agreed on this point.
Yeah.
None of them, they said, oh, it was eternal. They said they agreed on one point.
No, hold on. He said it's not true. Do you know they have even mentioned roughly the age of the universe, 13.7 billion?
Yes.
Okay. So if they have an
That's
age...
according to the Big Bang Theory.
Hold on. If they have an age, then don't you think it has a starting point?
That's based on the expansion of the universe,
Not the expansion, it's the age itself.
But how do they age the universe?
They accept.
They base it on the radiations from that time that still that shows the energy
And some
of
them,
the
they
radiation
said
still.
they could even track the radiation of the Big Bang and all of these things. They're
It's not the
debating all of
expansion.
these things. My point is, they agreed, all cosmologists. They said the universe has a start. Now here, are you bringing a new theory to say no, it doesn't have a start? It has
There are theories that
Who said that?
No, we have different models, but I've already explained to you why that model that of cyclic universe has been rejected. If you want to hold on to
and the multiverse theory as well.
the multiverse, again, the multiverse has a starting or doesn't have a starting.
Well, multiverse isn't it really... The problem with the multiverse theory is that it postulates a whole bunch of extra structure which you'll never see. Okay. So that's very similar to them saying, well, there exists a God and the God created it.
So it's the same,
universe.
it's the same idea.
In other words, a multiverse, yes, is the least reliable in terms of a theory and its evidences.
Okay.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're basically looking at things which most physicists have already rejected, and they have come to a conclusion that this cannot be. You know why the Big Bang theory is the most accepted? Because it kind of has the evidences a theory would have in order to uphold it as a reliable theory. You see, that's how science works, and that's what I'm telling you. That's why they say that the universe has an age of 13.7 billion, or whatever it is, years, and this is what they have. But most of the physicists kind of agree with. Okay, which proves to us that it has a beginning. Okay. So if something has a beginning, yes, we believe that anything that has a beginning or that begins to exist, yes, has a cause. The universe is an effect. So what caused the universe? That is the question, and that will answer the question that we have been seeking here. So what do you believe caused the universe?
I believe there's many possible theories.
Give me one.
Anything.
Give me one that is accepted by the physicists. Go on.
Okay, so maybe the physicists haven't accepted the theory because they're not going to accept a theory when they don't have an idea.
Do you have an idea?
No.
So what is the answer to my question then? If you don't have an idea, the physicists don't have an idea, then what is the answer?
Right from the beginning, there could be a God, there could be a multiverse, there could be a cyclic universe, there could be many different possibilities, there could be something that we haven't postulated yet.
We have looked at all those except God. Okay?
Because it's something that's untangible to us. It's something
No, it's not untangible. It's not untangible to a mind which is logical and rational at the same time, which looks as evidence everywhere rather than block itself from certain evidences. For example, listen, if you go to any university where they teach science, yes, anybody talks about God or any of the explanation by God, they automatically reject it. So this is the state of science today, that they have actually shut the door towards metaphysical understanding of certain things in a universe. You will never find God through that way because they have actually blocked. They're not very scientific in the sense that open to discussion of everything. So they're not looking at every possibility, they're only looking at certain possibilities which they view that within their worldview it would agree. But if it is even plausible that this is an explanation which is alternative, they won't accept it.
There is no evidence to suggest scientifically that there is a God. So how can science reveal it?
Yeah, because like I said, you're using the wrong tool. If you're going to use science as a tool, if you're going to use science as a tool to find out the metaphysical, it is like I've said many times, that you're using a metal detector if you want to find plastic. Wrong tool, you'll never get the evidence. Okay? So please stop repeating this because I had to repeat this many times.
But
You're
still haven't
using.
given me an answer.
No, I have. I said there's an alternate way. Like I said, everything that begins to exist has a cause. So the question that you need to answer is what caused the universe? And I'm saying, because I've asked you this question, I don't know, do you want me to give you my point of view? Okay, so everything that begins to exist, like the universe began to exist, yes? It must have a cause. And this cause must be it must be able to be intelligent enough to design something like the universe. To design, not only design, but to keep it existing and keep it running in a smooth way, which doesn't destroy itself, okay? Secondly, it has to be self-created, self-existing by itself. Because if God has a creator, then that wouldn't be God, by definition of the term God, okay? So it's uncreated, uncaused, intelligent designer. That is what basically it boils down to. Now, I'm saying that God is a being which is necessary in the sense that for everything to exist, you must have a cause, and that cause is God, and that God is necessary for the existence of everything else. Okay, a necessary being in the sense that if that necessary being wasn't there, would everything else exist? The answer is no. Okay, but if that necessary being was there, we would exist. Now, if you can find any other plausible answers to that, any other plausible models which would answer these questions as to what is the cause and whether this cause has a cause and so on, yes, then we are willing to listen to that rational arguments that you have.
So basically, you're giving me the gaps.
No, I've given you.
You don't understand.
I've moved you
X, Y,
away
and
from
Z.
the chance of the gaps.
You basically don't understand certain things, so you're.
What did I not understand?
You don't understand how the universe could exist.
I just explained it to you.
Yeah, so you've explained it to me with a God theory based on the
But
fact.
why have you made up your mind that God doesn't exist?
I haven't made up my mind that God doesn't exist.
So if it is plausible, then why you have a problem with it?
It's plausible. It's plausible.
Yeah. So if it's plausible, why have you?
There are other theories that are also
Right now, this is the most plausible explanation. If you have better, let me know.
You mentioned that it's possible. That's one of the things. And as well, if someone says that the cause of this universe is God, the God exists, that's what he quoted. You said that means we don't understand how the universe works. It doesn't work like this, by the way. The same thing, we could point the hand, the same to you, point the finger, saying to you, you don't understand the universe. That's why you say that God doesn't exist. So that's why
I never said God doesn't exist.
Hold on a second. I'm saying
He's agnostic.
you mentioned to him because he doesn't understand how the universe was exist. That's why he believes the existence of God.
But if you look from
Did you see the point?
Yeah.
So
But if
he
you're
could
looking
put the finger back to you, saying to you,
Yeah, okay.
and you have the same thing because you don't understand the universe. That's why you're agnostic. So we say that instead of accusing each other on this, okay, because we need to understand. All of us here, we don't understand how the universe, was created.
Okay.
All of us here,
we didn't
we
see it.
agreed.
Yeah.
We were not there. Even we don't know what was the energy, the amount of energy, what was the atom, all of these things which caused this Big Bang, if they were Big Bang, for example, yeah? Even though I'm kind of skeptic about the Big Bang, but anyway, let's suppose there used to be a Big Bang, according to many cosmologists, and as well, this Big Bang, it started this, all the, suppose this, I'm just giving this suppose, and assuming, yeah? Now, so we don't know what's the amount of energy that's needed. We don't know what was the atom that started. All of these things, that's something, it's even imaginary in our mind. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we know, all of us, we know this universe exists.
We know we exist.
And we know we exist, we are here. And we know we have consciousness, us. And we know non-consciousness doesn't produce consciousness. Yeah? That's something which is again, that's another, I could say, that's an angle, which is another
Tangent.
Another tangent which we don't need to discuss it now. But the point is now, since we are here, and after thinking deeply about the existence of this universe, now, what is the answer? What is the right answer? To say, there is different definitions, whatever it is, yeah, as you mentioned, there could be different explanations, which is even rejected by cosmologists, people who are specialized, and they have agreed on one point, yeah, as they have agreed there's Big Bang, many of the cosmologists, they have agreed the universe has started. It's kind of agreed on this. So it's something which is agreed. Now let's work on the things that the cosmologists, who are much, let's say, knowledgeable about these things, these matters, let's agree on this. Now since the universe has a start, so this universe has a start, so did it start by itself without any effect? Yeah? Without any cause? One thing. And if this cause, does it, for example, this cause, what is the as well, what is the criteria of this cause, which bring all this universe? These are the things that we should be the angle which we should discuss. I'm not restricting by the discussion, yeah. I'm just saying just the angle, which is I think.
So we talked about cause and effect,
yeah.
And the question was what caused the universe, because we know the universe began to exist.
Okay, I'll leave on this point that, you know, from a more primitive point of view, the further back you go in history, the more we rely on God for everything, to understand everything. The more we come into the future and the more we understand science, we understand other aspects of the universe that we didn't understand before, the less we rely on God for an explanation.
But in order for you to understand the universe and our world and ourselves, yes, it doesn't mean you have to completely negate science. As Muslims, yes, we are not saying that there's no need for science just because we have God. We never say that. In fact, the earliest Muslims were some of the best scientists. In fact, the scientific method, the first scientist, which you would call, is Ibn Haytham. He actually postulated this, the scientific methods of researching and basically observations and so on. So the first scientist was a Muslim. So, and you know what motivated them? It was basically the book of God.
Sure that
the Quran, do you know, by the way, if you read the Quran, in many places the Quran,
the Greeks
Quran
were
is,
scientists and they were
Quran is
Ibn Haytham was way before them.
well, then he couldn't
So
have
you
been a
will
Muslim.
not find
Islam
you
started
will not find
1300 years ago.
you will not find a person like Plato or Aristotle writing a scientific thesis or writing a methodology of how to basically conduct a scientific experiment, but Ibn Haytham did. Okay? Just because he's a Muslim doesn't mean you have to discount him.
No, I'm not discounting anybody. I'm just saying that when you look further back in history, even 500 years ago, Christianity was one of the biggest blockers of science.
Not the Muslims though. In fact, we encourage science in the early history of Islam, unlike the Christianity. So do not judge Islam based on the Christian history.
When the Christian scientists, or the scientists in the Christian world, when they used to be, executed and killed and tortured just because of their views, Andalusia and many other places, they used to host him and welcome him with open arms. And not just that.
I mean, Galileo is a good example.
Where they used to
he got executed because of his.
He wasn't actually house arrest.
Oh, sorry, he was under house arrest. Yeah, because of his basically his postulation of his theory.
But in the same time, where Muslims used to be not just encouraged by the leaders, to do whatever they, to develop the science and as well to develop the scientific methods as well. So that was something, because it is the background, the Quran.
I'm not arguing whether or not Islam is anti-science or whatever. What I'm saying is that the further you go back into history, the more you relied on God for any kind of anything that you couldn't understand. The more we understand things, the more we can understand that this can happen within science, and therefore we don't need God to explain this, and we don't need God to explain that.
No, but God is not for explaining only. We are saying the reason we believe
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
all
what
I'm saying is
look,
that
science's job is to explain things. God creates things. Okay? That's the reason we asked you about the origin of things. We didn't ask you to explain what is Big Bang or what is the atom or something. That is the job of science. Let's leave science to what it is good at. Okay? And let's leave God to what God is good at, which is basically creating things. One of his attributes is that he's a creator. So we are saying in all science, I don't think necessarily explains the origin of things. However, science explains to you the functionality and the roles of certain things like your organs and so on. As you come from a medical background, you know that. So science is very good at that. And we as Muslims have no objection. You know, some of the earliest medical instruments were developed by Muslims. I don't know if you've read the history of medicine, but if you look at that, those medical instruments are still used by doctors and surgeons today. Okay? So we, in fact, our religion encourages us to go and look around. So the earliest cosmologists, the earliest astronomers were mostly Muslims. You know why? Because as Muslims we have to face the direction of the Qibla, the direction where the Kaaba is. And in order to do that, they had to pinpoint the direction from various places around the world. and they used to have. That's the reason they developed things like algebra and other mathematical and scientific equipments like the astrolabe and so on.
Invented in India.
What is that? Algebra? No, it wasn't. It was by it was by Khwarizmi. Yes.
Khwarizmi is Persian Muslim.
I think it was Persia was the sort of the capital of the world at the time.
It was at that time. It was Baghdad was the capital city of the Muslim world. Yeah.
Of the entire, well, the entire developed world was in that region.
We're talking about during Khwarizmi time. I don't know when. So during the Khwarizmi time, who developed that group. He is originally Persian, Persian of these, but in the same time he was Muslim, as well inspired by as well of the Quran and other things. That's why he did a lot of the work of the mathematician. By the way, mathematician. That's why.
So what we are saying is that in the early period of Islam, it was actually the Quran, the work, and especially the Quran, which encouraged them and inspired them to go about all the scientific discoveries and all the scientific inventions as well. Okay, so if you look at the early Muslims, they actually were very much in line with science and scientific discoveries of that time. Yes, they didn't just say, oh, we believe in God, so let's forget science. Which is basically what you're trying to say.
No, I'm not saying that that's what religious people did. I'm saying that.
No, you said as we advance, we'll need less and less.
I'm saying that
to explain God.
Yes, as you go further back in time,
yeah,
you need more and more to rely on God for understanding everything. Whereas as you come more and more into the future, science is
Or
explaining.
another way to put it is, God has been the explanation, and the more we study, we remove God.
if you look at certain things in the Quran 1400 years from today, you'll be surprised what you'll find in there way back then. This is way before the scientists and so on. Okay, so there's a lot of things that in the Quran, like the stages of embryology and so on, these are clearly mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago.
I've never read the Quran, so I can't argue with you.
Would you like a copy?
Okay, we'll give you a copy of the Quran if you wish. We have no problem.
English?
Yes,
in English.
in English.
Yes, yeah, that's it. We want to see if there is any of the brothers to give us a Quran. By the way, for example,
He wants me to learn Arabic.
Yeah, fine.
no, the English one. By the way, let me give you some examples, about the cosmology. There is a beautiful verse in the Quran talks about that God, generally, it's just to give you kind of indication, kind of introduction. When God in the Quran making an oath by something that shows this something matters, you need to focus, you need to know there is something much deeper than what it appears. So that's why God made an oath, for example, by the olive tree, for example, and different things in the Quran. And sometimes the time, God made an oath by the time. And once, one of the Quran, God said about He made an oath by the positions of the stars. So God said in the Quran, I will not make an oath by the positions of the stars. And it's a great oath. So God said, I don't want to make an oath by the position of the stars. But even though it's a great oath, it's worthy to make an oath with, but you are not yet aware of that. Yeah? So here, at that time, when people used to, now you didn't see that. At that time, when people look at the sky, they will see a star. They will say, okay, that's the position of the star. When they used to use it for direction. So it didn't contradict the science of that time, because it's the position of the northern star is in this direction, this star on that direction, simple as that. Now, we have another thing. Now we know when the light travels from the stars, and it travels for millions of years, until it reaches Earth, what happened to that star?
It could be dead.
Could be dead, could be moved, it's not there. So what you see in the sky is you see what? The position of the star when the light departs from it. Yeah? So God is saying to us, what you see here is the position of the star, but you are not yet aware of that. So he is saying...
There's a copy of the Quran. It's in English.
Arabic, English is okay. Arabic and English.
Okay, but you don't have English?
We don't have,
English one?
It's fine, I can read just the English part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe I'll learn Arabic as I
I
go
think
through.
there is a brother, he's
No, he's on holiday.
Okay. So here, sorry about that. Yeah. So here, God is making an oath by the position of, and there are many other verses in the Quran. For example,
You want one?
let me give you another verse.
I used
For
to have
example,
one. I don't know
what
if
do
I
you
still
think?
have it.
I see.
What do you think the deepest point any person could dive in the sea 1400 years ago?
I have absolutely no idea.
What do you think? Just suggest. 1400 meters. 100 meters. 100, can someone dive 100 meters. I'm talking about 1400 years ago. Only recently they are able to dive, more than 50 meters and all of these.
Now they can dive hundreds of meters.
When?
Submarines.
1400 years ago.
Well, I don't know what the pressure's like, depending on the pressure.
Yeah, they added, let's say 20 meters, 30 meters.
Okay,
whatever.
fine.
So look at this. There is a verse in the Quran that says, that those who doesn't follow the guidance of God, like someone who's deep in the bottom of the ocean, above him there is a wave, above the wave there is another wave, above the sea there is a cloud. Even if he took his hand out of his pocket, he will be not able to see it. Darkness upon darkness. And look at this description, someone deep in the bottom of the ocean. Above him there is a wave. There is another wave. There's two waves. There's two waves that God is talking about, two waves. And above the sea there is a cloud. So here recently the science discovered that when the sunlight comes, and if it's a cloudy weather, only 60% max, that goes through the clouds and which reach the surface of the sea. And if there is waves on the surface of the sea, the waves of the surface of the sea, they will break the light. And only half of that could go through. And if there is deep another wave which is now discovered, recently, we're talking about in the last 100 years, they discovered something they call the sea currents, and they travels in waves. So we have the surface waves, and we have another sea current which travels in waves underneath that,
Internal waves.
which is internal wave inside the sea, inside the ocean. So that's if there is remain of the light, then it will break it. And if there is any remains of the light deep in the bottom of the ocean, if someone will take his hand out of his pocket, he will be not able to see it. Who taught Muhammad about this?
Who lived in the desert?
Can you tell me, just tell me, use anything, use any scientific method. And by the way, let me give you a hint about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was a literate man. He doesn't have access to the science of his own time, let alone of the science that yet to come after.
He didn't know how to read and write, basically.
How he knows these things? And there are many in the Quran about for example, embryology, for example, about many other things. How he learned, how he taught the people about it, how he learned about it, how did he know all these things, all these facts. So that's, it leaves, what's your name? What's your name? Mayor. So that gives you, my name is Mohammed. That gives you, for our brother Mayor, gives you something to know. There must be something that this man has brought, which gives me the answer about how the universe was created. If someone is able to say things which is proven scientifically now, which it doesn't contradict the Quran, and the Quran is not science book, by the way. Quran is not science book.
It's a book of science.
Yeah, it's a book of science, not science.
SIGNS, not science.
So it has things for us to learn. So for you to ponder, to say, you know what, let me think, let me careful, understand what was the meaning of the Quran, how he knew all of these things. And the only thing, and that's the amazing thing as well, this Quran, which is, people claim that Muhammad, he wrote it himself, that you cannot write a book and criticize yourself in the book. Yeah? So Quran criticize certain things that it happened for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So criticize them, saying you should have done this, you shouldn't have done that. And he never claimed that he wrote it himself. And he never wanted anything out of it. He never claimed to be worshipped. He never told them to worship him. And he never demanded money from the people. Again, that's another thing.
He never claimed the Quran.
He never claimed the Quran is his. And he never demanded anything. So he lived poor and he died poor. So even he lived in a room, his rooms that if you put your hand like this, you will touch the ceiling. If you can't squeeze yourself, that's the room that he has. So all these things. What does this man want? Not just him. As will the prophets before him, they are the same thing. Jesus, peace be upon him, Moses, peace be upon him, all of them. Those are the same thing. They never demand anything. They never demand things of the life matter. So what is so special in them that God inspires them and reveals to them the answers that we are demanding now? Yeah? And that gives you something to research and to look. Yeah?
Thanks for your time, man. What's your name again? Sorry?
Maya.
Mia? Very nice speaking to you. I'm
I'm
Hashim.
gonna go home and start reading it.
Yeah, sure.
Nice speaking to you.
Next
If
week,
you, maybe you can read and ask questions next time when you come here.
he'll already be a believer in all the prophets. by the time.
Inshallah. Allah give me that.
I'm not sure about that. We'll see.
Okay.
I'll do my research.
And I will add you another thing for you to do. Yeah? You know what? We all wanted kind of meditation sometimes. Just hold it. Just sit down. You don't go home. If you take a bath, whatever, sit down and say, well, you hear me for example. Just show me the right thing.
Right, we have to take care. So it was a brother, Mansoor gave it to me.
If you see him, tell him thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. All right.
Let's go for Maghrib. Yeah, we stand for Maghrib.
Okay,
So,
inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.